Freedom is underrated, but in North Korea, it's a luxury many can only dream of.
North Korea.
North Korea.
North Korea.
Rocket Man.
Kim Jong-un.
Under Kim Jong-un's rule, the country is infamous for enforcing some of the most outrageous and oppressive laws in the world.
You do not get to decide what you wear. So if you wear your jeans, you go to prison. Literally, people get executed.
From entire generations being punished for a single crime to strict control over how citizens live their daily lives, these rules reveal just how far a regime will go to maintain control. Join us as we dive into 15 insane things you should know about North Korea. Number 15. Three-generational punishment policy. In most parts of the world, the idea of being punished for someone else's wrongdoing is seen as fundamentally unjust. But in North Korea, it's not only common, it's government policy. Known as the three-generation punishment rule, this deeply rooted practice ensures that when one person commits a crime, the consequences extend far beyond the individual. Parents, children, and even grandchildren can be punished for the actions of a single relative. This system of inherited guilt, or yeonjwaje, is one of the regime's most powerful tools of fear and control. It is based on a philosophy of collective responsibility, where the belief is that disloyalty or rebellion reflects not just on an individual, but on their entire bloodline. Under this doctrine, crimes against the state are treated not just as isolated offenses, but as evidence of flawed family lineage. The origins of this policy date back to shortly after World War II, during the early rule of Kim Il-sung, the founder of North Korea. It was initially implemented as a way to root out dissent by punishing the families of political opponents, ensuring that rebellion came with an unbearable cost. Incredibly, this system has endured for nearly a century, remaining one of the most repressive and fear-inducing mechanisms of the regime. The logic behind it is chilling. If you know that your actions could lead to the imprisonment, torture, or execution of your entire family, you're far less likely to speak out or defy authority. It creates a society where silence becomes survival, and loyalty is manufactured through fear. Punishments under this policy are severe and often lifelong. Families of the accused may be publicly executed or, more commonly, sent to labor camps, harsh prison colonies where forced labor, starvation, and disease are part of daily life. These camps are isolated from the outside world, and those sent there may never return. Generations grow old and die behind barbed wire, not because of their own actions, but because of their familial connection to someone the regime deemed disloyal. Even the mere suspicion of a political offense can trigger this chain reaction. There's no public trial, no right to defense. The accused and their family simply disappear. Number 14. Online off-limits. The internet in Korea is different from the rest of the world because only a small percentage of the population uses computers. To begin with, the Democratic Republic of Korea strictly regulates and oversees its citizens' access to information. To even own a computer, you need special government authorization, and every computer is registered with the police as if it were a potentially lethal weapon. Office labs, academic institutions, and cyber cafes in large cities. Can you fathom living without the internet? It's hard to picture, especially when more than 65% of the globe has access to it, and 5.3 billion people actively use it every day. However, in North Korea, things are extremely different instead of the internet. The only internet available to North Koreans is domestic. Although some government officials are permitted access to the wider internet, the regime strictly regulates this access to stop the spread of information. This domestic network, which was launched in 2014, allows users to access roughly 5,500 websites, including video games. However, all activity on this network is monitored, so there is no true privacy. A security engineer found in 2016 said that North Korea had actually produced 28 websites that were accessible on the global internet. Among them is friend.com.kp, a hyper-political Facebook-like website with an estimated 18 million users. Other resources include corefilm.com.kp, which offers hundreds of North Korean films, documentaries, and even anime, and cooks.org.kp, which is a website with recipes. Though new sites have likely been added in recent years, the total number remains minuscule when compared to the estimated 2 billion websites available globally. Even in academic circles, where access might seem more relaxed, strict controls remain. For example, Pyongyang University of Science and Technology, the country's most prominent international university, offers limited internet access to students and faculty, primarily for educational and research purposes. However, even this access is filtered and monitored, and most of the content focuses on promoting state propaganda or managing information related to commerce and tourism. Number 13. Fake City. Tucked inside the Korean demilitarized zone, Kijong-dong appears at first glance to be a thriving village. But this town is anything but ordinary. It's a meticulously crafted illusion, often referred to as North Korea's propaganda village. Built in the aftermath of the Korean War in the 1950s, when the peninsula was split in two, Kijong-dong stands not as a home for people, but as a strategic display of North Korea's narrative to the outside world. From afar, Kijong-dong resembles a functional settlement, complete with brightly painted buildings, a school, a hospital, and even what looks like modern infrastructure. However, a closer look reveals that these structures are hollow shells, windowless concrete facades with no real residents. Lights are programmed to switch on and off at regular intervals, and buildings are routinely maintained to create the illusion of daily life, though no one actually lives there. Towering over the empty village is a flagpole standing 524 feet tall, one of the tallest in the world, hoisting a massive North Korean flag. The structure was erected during a Cold War-era flagpole arms race with South Korea and remains a powerful visual assertion of national pride and dominance. It serves as a stark reminder of North Korea's efforts to assert its presence in one of the most fortified borders on Earth. Ironically, the DMZ, a place forged by conflict and tension, has become a safe haven for wildlife, thanks to its lack of human interference. Amid the barbed wire and watchtowers, endangered species now roam freely, finding sanctuary in a zone created for war. Kijong-dong's true purpose has always been psychological. Designed to lure defectors from the south with promises of a better life, it forms part of North Korea's broader strategy of perception management. These so-called Potemkin villages, false displays of prosperity, are constructed to project strength both to the outside world and to the North Korean people themselves. By showcasing an image of modernity and success, the regime seeks to intimidate foreign adversaries while bolstering internal morale and loyalty. Number 12. Do not make jest of Kim's family. One of the defining characteristics of North Korean society is the Kims, the ruling family. Over the past 70 years, the regime has painstakingly established and maintained the mythology and veneration surrounding its leaders, portraying them as immortal guardians of the nation and deity-like entities. This cult of personality permeates every aspect of North Korean daily life, serves as a tool for social and political control, and reflects the unique political and social climate of the nation. The nation's founder, Kim Il-sung, is the central figure of this personality cult, known as the Great Lead Leader or Eternal President. He is revered as a godlike figure who created and reared the nation alone. His images are erected on public buildings, monuments, and homes, and the political philosophy of the country is founded on the ideas and beliefs he instills in his successors. Both Kim Jong-un, the current leader of North Korea, and Kim Jong-il, the beloved leader and permanent general secretary, are highly respected. The mythology surrounding the Kim dynasty is intricate and extensive, encompassing tales of their births, lives, and achievements that are both supernatural and miraculous. As a result of their supreme status in the country, even a small jest about the Kim family could have extremely harmful repercussions in North Korea. It is considered blasphemy to disparage Kim Il-sung, who was the founder of the country of Korea, Kim Jong-il, who was Kim Jong-un's grandfather, or Kim Jong-un, the current ruler, in any way. And if you make even a small joke about the Kim family, you might get into a lot of trouble and face the ultimate penalty. Every residence has photographs of Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il, and it's mandatory to wear badges with their pictures on your clothing. It's not just about what you say, though. It's also about how you respect the leaders' portraits. Some people even bow to the portraits every morning out of respect. Well, that's for the North Koreans to deal with. Number 11. No international calls. You can call practically everyone in the world with today's cell phone technology, except they live in North Korea, where the primary mobile service fully prohibits international calls. The government prohibits access to information from outside the country and all forms of communication within it, including internet and phone access. Nevertheless, calls outside can only be conducted with permission from the government. The use of cell phones is also tightly limited. Only a very small percentage of North Koreans own a mobile phone, and those that do can only make internal calls. They cannot access the internet or make international calls without permission from the government, despite the fact that at least one landline is owned by about 80% of North Korean households. Don't be misled. These phones are only meant for domestic usage. Additionally, the use of landlines is carefully regulated by the government, and only certain phone lines that are monitored by the government are permitted to make international calls. In addition to using signal jammers at borders to prevent outside communication and blocking all international calls, the government also keeps an eye on all electronic communications to make sure no undesired information gets in. Contacting someone abroad could result in the most severe punishment possible. For instance, in 2014, a North Korean man used a smuggled phone and foreign SIM card to call his family who had defected to South Korea. Unfortunately, he didn't have time to conceal his phone before authorities discovered his signal and arrived at his door. His terrible fate was made public, leaving no room for doubt about what happens to those who dare to disobey North Korean regulations. Even something as basic as saying hello to a loved one abroad can mean the difference between life and death. But why take such drastic measures? By blocking access to outside news and limiting communication with foreigners, the North Korean government effectively controls all information that its residents are exposed to, keeping them in the dark about the world outside of their borders. The fear is that if citizens discover the truth about how much freer and more prosperous other countries are, they may begin to question the regime, and worse, attempt to flee or even rebel against it. Number 10. No Kimitations. With a global population of around 8 billion, it's not unusual to share your name with a few strangers. But in North Korea, that rule doesn't apply to its leader. In a striking move to emphasize his singular status, Kim Jong-un made it illegal in 2011 for anyone else in the country to bear his name. That year, after being appointed Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces, Kim Jong-un issued an order that effectively wiped his name from the National Registry, except for his own. Anyone named Kim Jong-un was required to legally change their name, regardless of personal attachment or family significance. The directive was non-negotiable. If you had the name, you had to give it up. While the exact number of people affected by this policy remains unknown, it's widely believed that Jong-un was a fairly common given name in North Korea at the time. That means the ripple effect of the name ban likely touched a substantial number of citizens, each suddenly required to take on a new identity to comply with the state's demand. This move ensured that the leader would remain the only Kim Jong-un in the nation, an act of symbolic control and a powerful demonstration of authority. It's a striking example of how personal image is tightly woven into state policy in North Korea, where even names are not exempt from political strategy. Adding another layer to this peculiar story, the name restriction reportedly extends to Kim Jong-un's daughter, Kim Ju-ae. Reports suggest that her name too has been made exclusive, possibly as a sign that she is being groomed for a future leadership role. Number 9. State-controlled hairstyles. Whether it's a bright blue hairstyle, a spiky mohawk, or even the resurgence of the mullet, people in many parts of the world love to use their hair to stand out. However, the strangest and most noticeable aspects of this control are the state-sanctioned haircuts, which establish the acceptable hairstyles for men and women in accordance with state regulations. In North Korea, extreme hairstyles are frowned upon, and if you're caught sporting an unapproved look, you risk being stopped by the tenacious Patriotic Youth League and having to change it. The approved hairstyles vary in style, but are typically short and modest. The state strictly regulates personal grooming and appearance in order to maintain control over its citizens and maintain the regime's reputation. Back in 2013, the government even issued an official handbook with 28 state-approved hairstyles, 10 for men and 18 for women. Women have their own set of rules. If you're single, you can have long, curly hairstyles similar to those that were popular in the 1980s. But once you're married, short hair is expected. Also, married women are permitted to use a restricted number of hair decorations. Men are still not allowed to have hair longer than 2 inches, and if you're over 60, you're graciously allowed to grow it to 3 inches. However, younger men must get a haircut every 15 days to keep it in check. Buns that are cut away from the ears. The hairdo endorsed by North Korean leader Kim Jong-un is among the most well-liked hairstyles for men in that country. Well, at least it's to choose between his hairstyle and others allowed for men, which is better than being forced into the Kim Jong-un cut. These hair rules are put in place because the leaders believe the country's ideological purity is seen to be threatened by the trends of women's hair coloring, wild hairdo, and perming, which are influenced by Western culture. The state uses regular inspections and programs started by local government representatives and community organizations to enforce its required hair trims. In order to avoid penalties, criticism, or even public humiliation, hair salons and barbershops must display posters and pictures of the approved haircuts. Number 8. Prohibition on jeans and Western clothing. For many people around the world, especially in Western nations, jeans are a staple of everyday fashion, versatile, comfortable, and timeless. But in North Korea, denim is more than just off-trend, it's outright illegal. Since the mid-2020s, leader Kim Jong-un has intensified efforts to purge the country of Western cultural influences, with blue jeans becoming one of the most prominent targets. But the roots of this policy go back decades. The division of Korea in 1945 marked a turning point. The North, backed by the Soviet Union, embraced communism, while the South aligned with the capitalist United States. From that point forward, North Korean ideology has framed Western, and particularly American culture, as an ideological threat. Jeans, so strongly associated with American style and capitalist freedom, became a symbolic enemy. But the fashion restrictions in North Korea don't end with denim. Women face additional dress code regulations, including a ban on wearing trousers unless it's part of an approved work uniform. While enforcing such rules across a population of 26 million is a challenge, local youth patrols often step in. If a woman is found violating the dress code, she may be stopped, interrogated, and forced to write a confession letter. In some cases, her name, address, and occupation may even be publicly broadcast over loudspeakers, a humiliating punishment designed to shame and deter. In a country where the government controls every aspect of daily life, including personal appearance, clothing is more than just self-expression. It's a political statement. The regime enforces a strict dress code that emphasizes modesty, conformity, and national pride, often favoring traditional Korean attire over anything remotely Western. Number 7. Do not doze off. We have all been victims of mistakenly falling asleep in places and situations that we weren't supposed to, be it an online meeting or simply a boring lecture. Of course, in some cases, such behavior comes with embarrassment, being scolded at or given a penalty at most. But can you imagine paying the price with your life? This is the reality in North Korea. It happened that Kim Jong-un was not impressed when North Korean Defense Minister Ryugyong apparently dozed off during a military rally in 2015. Rather than dismissing him outright, the leader had him removed from office and given the toughest penalty possible. His public death served as a reminder that disobedience and indolence would not be accepted. Despite how absurd that sounds, it wasn't an isolated incident. A year later, in 2016, Kim Jong-un, another high-ranking official in the education ministry, was disciplined in front of hundreds of people for his terrible posture. Apparently, the supreme leader was so angered by Kim Jong-un's slouching during a party rally that he investigated him, called him an anti-party agitator, anti-revolutionary agitator, and sentenced him to death. Geez, what a harsh punishment for slouching. One thing is certain, North Korea is definitely not the place to be found yawning. It's one thing to fall asleep at the wrong time, but it's quite another to be punished for simply sitting incorrectly. Number 6. Traffic ladies. A distinctive and alluring location in the busy streets of Pyongyang, the capital of North Korea, has drawn the attention of both tourists and residents. It features young women directing traffic, who were formerly known as traffic security officers. These women have been a part of Pyongyang's urban landscape since the 1980s and are chosen from the ranks of the nation's police force based on certain criteria like age, height, and physical appearance. Way back, because the city didn't have traffic lights, they let humans control traffic. They decided to keep that tradition alive till this day. Being chosen for this position is considered a huge privilege in the country. The workers there get free housing and even military honors if they do their jobs properly. Candidates must be between the ages of 16 and 26. They must also be at least 1.5 meters tall. They must be attractive and pleasant. They must also show loyalty to the ruling party. They must have a clean family history, and they must be single. After being chosen, the traffic ladies go through a rigorous training program to learn the various hand signals and gestures used to direct traffic. Their movements are characterized by their precision, fluidity, and grace as they effortlessly guide cars, buses, and bicycles through the city's busy intersections. They are outfitted with batons, whistles, and traffic paddles to help them in their work. They switch positions every 30 minutes to stay on task. The traffic ladies of Pyongyang wear practical and aesthetically pleasing uniforms, representing discipline, public service, and beauty. They work long hours in difficult conditions and are a source of fascination for foreign visitors. They are an iconic symbol of North Korea's unique blend of authority, beauty, and order. They are a source of pride for the nation and play critical roles in maintaining the streets safe and orderly. Families of the traffic ladies are usually very proud of them. Now, it's time for today's subscribers pick. Take a good look at this image. It's certainly one that raises a lot of questions. Why is the person lying face down on the floor? And why are so many men gathered around? This scene is definitely confusing. As you may know, North Korea has strict rules about gender separation, especially in cells. So what's going on here? Could the person have been beaten up? Or is this some kind of strange social gathering? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Share your theories in the comments section below. Number 5. No religious freedom. In much of the world, freedom of religion is a basic right. People can choose to worship a deity, follow ancient texts, or even believe in tales of cosmic battles and extraterrestrial beings, as some faiths propose. But in North Korea, such freedom doesn't exist. The country is officially atheist, and its government enforces a strict prohibition on all forms of religious expression. Religion in North Korea is not merely discouraged, it is treated as a direct threat to state power. The regime views spiritual beliefs as dangerous influences from the West and incompatible with its ideology of absolute loyalty to the state and the ruling Kim dynasty. As a result, all religious activity is harshly suppressed. Attending religious services, participating in ceremonies, or even owning religious materials can lead to severe punishment. At the heart of North Korea's ideological system is a carefully constructed cult of personality surrounding the Kim family. This quasi-religious devotion to the leadership replaces spiritual faith, positioning the ruling family as the ultimate authority, morally, politically, and symbolically. The idea of worshiping a higher power undermines that narrative, and the regime will not tolerate any form of competing allegiance. One notorious example of this rigid control occurred in 2014, when an American tourist accidentally left a Bible in the restroom of a restaurant. What would have been a harmless mistake elsewhere resulted in a 5-month prison sentence in North Korea. The regime treated the act as subversive, a violation of national law, and potentially an attempt at religious proselytization. While the capital city of Pyongyang does contain churches, these institutions are operated entirely by the state. According to visitors, they are often closed during scheduled service times, and when open, filled with actors posing as worshippers. Services serve more as a stage for propaganda than places of genuine religious devotion. North Korea's religious repression is underscored by its population. Roughly 70% of citizens report no religious affiliation at all, a reflection of both the state's ideology and the danger of belief. Christianity, in particular, is seen as especially subversive. The concept of a savior, a figure greater than the supreme leader, is simply unacceptable within the regime's worldview. One of the most disturbing cases surfaced in 2023, when an entire family, including a toddler just 2 years old, was arrested after authorities discovered a Bible in their possession. Reports suggest that every member of the family, including the child, was sentenced to life imprisonment. It's a chilling example of just how far the regime will go to eliminate anything it deems a threat to its control. Number 4. The Ryugyong Hotel. Constructed in 1987, the Ryugyong Hotel is a 105-story skyscraper located in Pyongyang, North Korea. This infamous hotel was meant to serve as a symbol of strength and also luxury for North Korea's tourists. In 1992, construction of what was supposed to have been the highest hotel in the world at the time was put on hold due to financial difficulties. There are several theories as to why some people believe that the skyscraper's structure is weak and that it cannot withstand natural disasters like earthquakes. The Ryugyong Hotel is still closed today. Numerous issues with the hotel's construction, such as the use of inferior materials and substandard workmanship, have been reported. These issues raise concerns about the stability and safety of the building and could be the reason for its low visitor numbers. Others argue that a lack of funding and the inability to find a suitable foreign partner to oversee operations caused the hotel's debut to be delayed. Despite the North Korean dictatorship reaching out to several high-end hotel groups, no agreement has been reached, and finding a partner to manage the hotel seems to be challenging due to ongoing economic sanctions and limited international engagement. The hotel's impressive 3,000 rooms and array of amenities, such as conference rooms and rotating restaurants, point to a great concept that has not yet been realized. Regardless of whether the hotel will ever open, the Ryugyong Hotel continues to captivate onlookers and visitors seeking a unique perspective on the complexity of North Korea. Number 3. The Time Wrap. While most of the world follows the Gregorian calendar, North Korea uses its own, the Juche calendar, which starts on April 15, 1912, the birth date of Kim Il-sung, the country's founder. This day marks year 1, meaning that in North Korea, the year 2010 was actually year 99. The calendar erases any history before Kim Il-sung's birth, reinforcing the regime's focus on the Kim family's leadership. The Juche calendar was adopted in 1997, when all official documents, including birth certificates and publications, switched to this new system. This system helps reinforce North Korea's distinct identity, setting it apart from the global community. Additionally, North Korea established its own time zone in 2015, shifting clocks back by 30 minutes to create Pyongyang time, or Korean Standard Time. This move distanced the country from its former colonizer, Japan, and symbolically rejected the Japanese occupation. The time zone change further emphasized North Korea's independence and isolation. Number 2. Joyless July. In North Korea, July 8th is a day of strict mourning, as it marks the anniversary of Kim Il-sung's death in 1994. On this day, the entire nation is expected to mourn in silence, and even the simplest expressions of joy, like smiling or laughing, are strictly prohibited. People are also forbidden from talking loudly, dancing, or drinking alcohol. Even if your birthday falls on July 8th, celebration is not allowed. While this may seem extreme, it's just part of the country's rigid mourning customs. In more recent years, the government has gone further, even outlawing laughter for 11 days to mark the 10th anniversary of Kim Jong-il's death. It's one of the most bizarre and unusual traditions in North Korea. Number 1. Job jail. In North Korea, children don't get to dream about their future careers. Whether they want to be astronauts, dancers, or YouTubers, their aspirations are irrelevant. The government controls career assignments based on research into the labor needs of each industry, ensuring that resources are strictly managed under its collectivist system. Upon graduating high school, every student is assigned a job by the state, with no regard for personal interests or family desires. Once assigned, it's nearly impossible to change careers. For example, during Kim Jong-il's reign, graduates in the Kijong-dong region, rich in potatoes but with a low population, were sent to work as potato farmers in Ryugyong for life, building their own homes and knowing that their children would likely follow the same path. This rigid system leaves no room for personal choice or upward mobility. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.